The rain was relentless that morning, painting the city in shades of gray, as if the skies themselves mourned the injustice that had brought her here. The courthouse loomed ahead, cold, tall, and unyielding, its marble steps slick with water. A faint tremble passed through the small figure making her way toward the entrance. She was only 17, her shoulders drawn inward under a faded coat far too thin for the weather, yet it was not the cold that chilled her, it was the weight of what awaited inside. Beside her, a golden-furred Labrador walked in perfect step, his leash slack, his eyes alert yet gentle, as if he understood that his young companion carried more pain than most hearts could bear. His name was Milo. And to the girl, he wasn't just a dog, he was the last remnant of safety in a world that had taken almost everything from her. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, or in the unbreakable loyalty of animals, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales, because stories like this deserve to be told and remembered. The girl's name was Emily Carter. Just months ago, her life had been simple and quiet, tucked away in a small town where the loudest sound was the wind rushing through the maple trees behind her house. Her father had passed away when she was young, leaving her in the care of her mother, a hard-working nurse who adored her only child. Money had always been tight, but they had love, laughter, and Milo, the golden retriever puppy Emily had gotten for her 12th birthday. He had been her confidant through schoolyard bullies, her comfort through lonely nights, and her joy on sunlit mornings. But life's storms don't always arrive with warning. It had started with a neighbor's accusation, a claim that Emily had been involved in a theft from their property. It was absurd, she'd never stolen so much as a pen in her life. But rumors are powerful in small towns, and whispers quickly became shouts. A watch, expensive and rare, had gone missing. The police had found nothing in her house, nothing on her, yet suspicion clung to her like a stain. Her mother believed her, of course, but the neighbor pressed charges, and suddenly Emily was facing a courtroom, a judge, and the terrifying possibility of a record that could shatter her future. The days leading up to the hearing were a blur of fear and humiliation. At school, people avoided her or stared too long. Even teachers seemed to speak to her differently. Only Milo remained unchanged, curling beside her bed each night, his head resting on her knees, as though guarding her from the darkness that pressed in. He seemed to sense her every shift in mood. When her hands shook from anxiety, he would nudge them with his warm nose. When tears slipped down her cheeks, he would rest his paw gently in her lap, grounding her to the moment. On the morning of the trial, Emily hadn't wanted to get out of bed. Her mother had tried to encourage her, but it was Milo who finally pulled her into the day, bounding into the room with his leash in his mouth, his tail wagging, insisting that she walk with him just as they always had. That brief walk, with Milo stopping every so often to sniff the damp air or watch the raindrops roll off leaves, reminded her that the world still held moments of quiet beauty, even in her darkest hours. The courtroom was everything she'd feared. Its walls felt too close, its air too heavy. The judge sat high above, a figure of authority and finality, while the neighbor, Mr. Daniels, sat rigid and unyielding, his lawyer beside him. Emily's own lawyer, a kind but overworked public defender, had told her the truth. Without evidence in her favor, it would be her word against theirs. She swallowed hard as she took her seat, Milo lying at her feet as her registered emotional support animal. His calm presence was the only thing that kept her hands from trembling visibly. The prosecution spoke first, painting her as a troubled teen from a struggling home, someone capable of deceit and theft. Each word felt like a stone thrown at her. She wanted to shout, to cry, to make them see who she really was, but she sat silently, her hand resting on Milo's fur, drawing strength from the steady rise and fall of his breathing. When it was finally her turn to speak, her lawyer gently urged her forward. She stood, her voice soft but steady, and told her truth. She spoke of her life, her late father, her mother's sacrifices, and Milo, the dog who had been with her through every joy and sorrow. She explained that on the day of the alleged theft, she had been at the animal shelter volunteering with Milo beside her, something she did every weekend. Her words wavered as she spoke, but her sincerity filled the room. Then came the moment that no one could have predicted. As Mr. Daniels took the stand, Milo's demeanor changed. He sat up abruptly, his eyes fixed on the man, his ears pricked. The judge noticed, as did the jury. And when the bailiff approached, Milo moved closer, sniffing the hem of Mr. Daniels' coat before sitting back with a low, rumbling whine. The air shifted. Emily's lawyer, sensing an opening, requested a brief recess. During that break, an officer approached the bench with a small, crumpled velvet pouch he had found in the lining of Mr. Daniels' coat. Inside was the missing watch. Gasps filled the room. The truth had been hiding inches from the man who had accused Emily so confidently. When the judge reconvened, the case unraveled rapidly. Mr. Daniels stammered excuses, claiming he'd found it and forgotten to turn it in, but the damage was done. Emily was cleared, her name restored. She didn't cry when the judge dismissed the case, she simply knelt down, wrapping her arms around Milo's neck, pressing her face into his fur. The tears came later, as they stepped outside into the fresh, rain-washed air. Her mother held her close, whispering that she was proud beyond words. But in Emily's heart, she knew the real hero had been at her side all along. If this story has touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales, because every act of loyalty, every moment of kindness, and every bond between a human and an animal deserves to be celebrated and remembered. And before we end, we'd love to hear from you. What is one moment when your pet surprised you with their loyalty or understanding? Share your story in the comments below. Your words might inspire someone else today.